5 ways Slack can keep your clients hooked on your services. I'd mentioned previously that I'm going to spend the month of May talking about how you can raise your stock in the eyes of your clients. And this is the first one. It may be the most powerful one, and maybe the most significant one. The bottom line is it's working beautifully for me, and that's one of the reasons, of course, why I am now passing this along to you. There are 5 high-level reasons why I love Slack and why I believe it will keep them hooked on your services. 1 is direct and constant access to you. 2, keep the conversations organized, categorized, and easily referenced. Number 3, integrations with other applications you're going to love. I'm going to demonstrate one for you in a minute or so on how beautifully it integrates with Google Docs. And there's a whole apps area where you can look up all the apps. And there are things I've discovered that I wouldn't have even thought of doing that I'm now doing with Slack because I stumbled on them going through their apps area and thought, wow, this is really cool. Number 4, the consistent mobile experience. One of my primary criteria when I'm evaluating an app and deciding whether or not I want to use it, especially in my own firm, is based on how consistent the experience is across platforms and across devices. And Slack definitely meets that, makes the grade when it comes to that test. And last but not least is the search capabilities that Slack has, which goes back to the sort of easily referenced part in number 2. It makes it really easy to find what I need when I need it. And that's really the bottom line for me at the end of the day, especially given the nature of the services that I offer to clients, is if I need to reference a conversation that happened 3 months ago, even though I use Google and G Suite or Gmail for my email, which has very good and very powerful search, it's still not nearly as good as when I have Slack with the conversations organized in different channels, and I know exactly where to go, at least to start searching, and then I can run the search and find what I need quickly. My bottom line rule on this is if I'm looking for it and I can't find it in 30 seconds or less, it's not organized and that needs to be fixed. Let's take a look at my screen and I will show you what this looks like. Over here I'm in Slack in a sample team that I've created, and you can see that I've begun to create channels for a sample company. And if you wanted to access all the channels, you'd click here where it says channels, and first it shows you channels you can join, and then after that you'll see channels that you have joined, channels that you belong to is how they term it. Notice I've got an about channel. This is a channel I mentioned in the write-up. It's where I like to have discussions with the client where I use that channel to learn more about their business. You know, one of my recent clients, I gave this example in the write-up, they sell products online, and I was curious about a particular product of theirs that was priced very high. It was a very high ticket item, and I pasted the link in and asked him, you know, what made it so expensive? I said, what makes this so valuable? And in answering my question, I learned a lot about their products. So I love having a channel like this, and I think in terms of really partnering with your clients and showing them that you really care, that you're not just there to collect a payment from them and say, here, leave me alone with the, you know, output. It shows that you actually really care to partner with them and really help them grow their business, right? And then again, we have just samples. These are channels that you might create, and I'm sure you'll think of others. Budgets. We can have a channel for each client. We can have a channel for each client and then project within that, right? And then I have my general channel. I have my Learn Slack, which of course is what I use to invite the clients to ask questions about how to use Slack. There's a lot that Slack can do that's underneath the hood and may not be, you know, completely obvious. You know, and you can set up other learning channels based on other things that you might be doing with the client. So it makes it really, really easy to organize things, like I said in tip number 2, and then categorize them and easily reference them. So one thing I mentioned was I was going to show you the integration. Well, here's a meetings channel that I created, and here's an example of meeting notes. So if I'm having meetings with the clients, which I often do on a weekly or monthly basis, I can take notes in Google Docs and then drop them in here. And in here we can actually have the conversation. Next meeting, agenda items, please, right? So I can invite people to indicate what they'd like to discuss at the next meeting. You can also do it right from in here. It has the Google Docs integration, so I can actually create a brand new Google document right from within Slack here. Or I can do posts, or I can do code or text snippets, or here I can actually access my Google Drive folder and browse and link to a document, which is essentially what I've done here. And if I click on this, it will open up the Google document in my browser such that I can access it right here. And of course, if need be, I can make changes, whatever follow-up I need to do, close it out, and that's still linked over here to the most recent live version of that document. So there's no emailing files back and forth and no going back and forth and deciding who's got what version, who's got the latest. It's very easy to drop and embed any file into Slack. In fact, let's see if I've got a good example of something here that I can use. Here's an image file. If I want to drop it in, you know, it's that simple. Drag and drop right into the desktop app. And as I mentioned, the mobile app also makes this very easy to do. In the case of the mobile app, of course, there's no drag and drop. I would simply tap the plus sign in the mobile app and then browse to the image file from my mobile and drop it in. Other than that, it works exactly the same. This is really handy for businesses where, let's say, you're trying to show them pictures of what's going on a job site, where you can easily take a snapshot with your mobile and then add it into a channel in that project, let's say, and say, here, what do you think? Or if you're an architect, upload a digital version of your blueprints. You know, the possibilities are literally endless with this. So as always, of course, I encourage you to get in here and start playing around and seeing what you can do. And then come back here to this blog post and post your comments. First of all, I would love to hear your ideas about how you're using it, especially if you've tried it, especially if you've tried it as a result of seeing this. But either way, I'd love to hear back from you, so please post your comments below and let me know if you're using Slack or if you've started to use it, how you're using it, what has worked well, what hasn't worked well. Maybe I can help you solve some problems here. As always, I hope you had some fun here and learned something along the way. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.